The Hilton name shines with glamour, wealth, and power. Yet behind it lies a lineage marked by tragedy, betrayal, and dark secrets. Few stories reveal that truth more painfully than the life of Franchesca Hilton, the only daughter of Conrad Hilton and Zsa Zsa Gabor. From the disturbing circumstances of her conception to her heartbreaking end, her fate was nothing short of devastating. The Hilton saga stretches back generations, beginning with Augustus Halverson Hilton, who immigrated from Norway to San Antonio, New Mexico, in 1870. There, he and his wife, Mary Genevieve, raised 8 children, one of them being Conrad Hilton, the man who would redefine hospitality. Conrad grew up in New Mexico long before it became a U.S. state in 1912. By the time state had arrived, he was already 25, opening the door to unexpected opportunities. He soon became one of New Mexico's first Republican representatives, but politics quickly soured for him. The bureaucracy, dishonesty, and backroom deals pushed him away, and he turned to banking, believing it to be more honest. Chasing opportunity, Conrad headed to booming Texas during its oil frenzy, hoping to purchase a bank. But when that deal fell through, he pivoted fast. His chance came in the form of a small but bustling business, the Mobley Hotel in Cisco, Texas. With just 40 rooms, the Mobley operated at full capacity, its doors constantly spinning with workers chasing oil wealth. Conrad saw potential. If one hotel could make this much money, what could several do? He bought the Mobley in 1919, and by 1930, he owned 4 more hotels across Texas. Then came the 1929 stock market crash. The Great Depression brought America to its knees, and luxury travel disappeared. Yet somehow, Conrad held on. He kept all 8 of his hotels, and even began expanding beyond Texas. The downturn, though brutal, proved temporary. While building his business empire, Conrad attempted to build a family. He married Adelaide Barron in 1925 and had 3 sons, Conrad Hilton Jr., Nicky, Barron Hilton, and Eric Hilton. A year after their 3rd child was born, the couple divorced. Still, Conrad pushed forward. After nearly 8 years alone, he met someone entirely different, a glamorous Hungarian actress and socialite named Zsa Zsa Gabor. They married in 1942. To her, Conrad may have seemed like a lifesaver. He even helped her parents escape war-torn Hungary. But that admiration didn't last. Their marriage deteriorated quickly. According to Gabor, Conrad was controlling, possessive, and dismissive of her identity. He even insisted on calling her Georgia instead of Zsa Zsa. She later wrote that her heritage, freedom, and voice were erased within the marriage. She felt owned, not loved. Their relationship was doomed. Before the divorce was finalized, Gabor gave birth to their only child, Franchesca Hilton. But even that moment was overshadowed by darkness. According to Gabor's autobiography, she did not consent to the encounter that resulted in her pregnancy, a horrifying allegation that permanently tainted their story. Their marriage officially ended in October 1947. Gabor went on to Hollywood fame, a string of 9 marriages, and dozens of film and television roles. Meanwhile, Conrad faced turmoil from his older children, especially his eldest son, Nicky. From a young age, Nicky was trouble. He was expelled from multiple schools, cared little for the family business, and devoted himself to partying, gambling, and reckless behavior. According to Gabor, he and Conrad share more similarities than anyone realized. Nicky's most infamous chapter was his marriage to 18-year-old Elizabeth Taylor in 1949. MGM funded the wedding, turning it into a global spectacle. But behind the glamour, their relationship was chaotic. At 23, Nicky was already struggling with addiction and severe gambling issues. Soon, the marriage became violent. His explosive temper and substance abuse turned him into an unpredictable and dangerous husband. When Taylor became pregnant, one of Nicky's rages turned tragic. He assaulted her, causing a miscarriage. Their marriage lasted less than a year, ending on the grounds of mental cruelty. In a city fueled by glamour and chaos, Nicky Hilton still managed to shock Hollywood. Because despite everything, he was somehow still seen as an eligible bachelor. His divorce from Elizabeth Taylor barely slowed him down. By the end of 1951, he was already engaged again, this time to actress Betsy Von Fenberg, who shared his love for wild, reckless nights. At first, it seemed Nicky had met his match. Vonfenberg recalled that he slept until all hours, woke up drinking, and spent his days playing cards instead of working. Sadly, Nicky had learned nothing from his first marriage. Though she initially tried to ignore his violent temper, it quickly became unbearable, and the engagement ended long before a wedding ever happened. While Nicky's life spun further out of control, his father and brothers were busy expanding the Hilton legacy. Through the 1940s and 1950s, Conrad Hilton built and acquired hotels across the U.S., including the legendary Waldorf Astoria. When he secured the hotel's management rights, he absorbed the legacy of another prominent American family, the Astors. But unlike them, Conrad was determined not to let his own family name crumble through carelessness. America wasn't enough for him. In 1946, Conrad founded the Hilton Hotels Corporation, followed by Hilton International in 1949, creating the world's first global hotel chain. But with such a massive empire came a troubling question: who would take it over? Conrad eventually brought Nicky into the business. In 1951, he appointed him vice president of Hilton Corporation and manager of the Bel Air Hotel. But he worried deeply about what would happen if his party-loving son ever took control. Those concerns proved valid as Nicky's troubles continued. He clashed with authorities in 1954, remarried in 1958, had 2 sons, and still couldn't keep his life together. If he couldn't hold on to a marriage, how could he be trusted with a multi-million-dollar corporation? In the end, Nicky's destructive lifestyle made the decision for Conrad. His reckless habits caught up with him, and he died of a heart attack at just 42, 10 years before his father. This left Conrad's remaining children as the only ones to consider in his will. With the Hilton family's enormous fortune, one might expect a peaceful, orderly inheritance. Instead, chaos followed. What Nicky lacked, Conrad's second son, Baron, had in abundance. Baron proved to be a brilliant businessman with steady discipline. Exactly what Conrad wanted in an heir. It seemed obvious. Conrad would leave everything to the son who dedicated his life to the company. But the truth was more complicated. When Conrad Hilton died in 1979, at age 91, he shocked everyone. Instead of leaving his wealth to his children, he gave 97% of his estate to a charitable foundation he had created decades earlier. At first glance, it looked like he ignored his own family, but he hadn't entirely. Conrad left 13.5 million shares to the foundation, but he also granted Baron a right to buy those shares and keep control of the company within the family. There was just one problem. The foundation didn't want to give them up. They challenged the clause, sending the case into probate for years and trapping the money in legal limbo. Finally, in 1988, the court ruled in Baron's favor. By then, the shares had quadrupled in value, giving him even greater control over the Hilton empire. But not everyone was satisfied. Conrad's daughter Franchesca received only $100,000, despite coming from 2 wealthy families, the Hiltons and the Gabors. Furious, she contested the will, but the courts upheld Conrad's wishes. It was the start of her downward spiral. While her half-brothers thrived, Francesca's life fell apart. Through her mother, she had 7 stepfathers, but none caused her more trouble than her last, Frederick Prinz von Anhalt. After her mother became paralyzed in 2002, von Anhalt gained increasing control over her life and estate. In 2005, he accused Francesca of manipulating her mother for personal gain, though the lawsuits were later dropped. When Franchesca tried to secure an independent conservatorship for her mother in 2012, hoping to regain some control, the judge instead handed full authority to von Anhalt. Francesca's life ended in tragedy. Despite being born into 2 fortunes, she died in poverty, reportedly homeless just a month before her death from stroke complications. Her mother never learned of her passing. Von Anhalt chose not to tell her. Meanwhile, Conrad's younger sons built stable families and preserved the Hilton legacy. Baron married Marilyn Hawley in 1947, and they raised 8 children together. One of them, Richard Hilton, expanded the empire further by founding Hilton Realty Investment. Richard married Kathy Avanzino in 1979, the same year Conrad died. Their marriage became one of the strongest in the family, producing 4 children, including 2 names known worldwide, Paris and Nicky Hilton. Though Nicky was named after a troubled great-uncle, she avoided many of his vices, building her own career in fashion and maintaining a far steadier path. But it was Paris Hilton who transformed the meaning of the family name forever. Before her rise, Hilton simply meant hotels. A few knew about past scandals, but most thought only of business success. Then came the simple life, and Paris became a global icon, proving that for the Hiltons, even controversy could turn into power.